Hello everyone. Firstly, I want you to imagine the sound of metal striking metal. Someone to your left is lifting the barbell. To your right, there is a bottle of water which is set down on the floor with a dull thud. Someone nearby is breathing as though they are lifting not a barbell, but their entire day. So you're in the gym. You don't know these people's names, you don't know what happened to them this morning, you don't know where they work, and yet you trust them. You're ready for one of them to catch the barbell if your hands slip. You nod to them without saying a word, and that word means more than an hour of conversation in the office. So why? Why do we trust strangers more than our colleagues we have sat with in the same office for years? There is a guy at my gym, let's call him Alexander. We have never spoken outside the gym. I don't know where he works or if he has a family. But when I wanted to do a bench press with a record-breaking weight for myself, it was Alexander who was right there beside me. He didn't ask where I work, and he wasn't interested in what I do for a living. He only asked my weight, so he could compare it to the weight I was lifting. And he spotted me. I entrusted my shoulders, my knees, my health to a man whose name I don't even know. Whose last name I don't even know. And that struck a chord with me. Why are we willing to entrust our bodies to strangers at the gym, but afraid to even smile at a passerby on the street? I realized this a year ago. I was working part-time in a coffee shop when I was in the university. And you all know that atmosphere. Customers make an order, barista makes their coffee and wishes them a good day. And there was a regular guest, just an ordinary young man. We saw each other almost every day, but I thought that, like many people, he worked at a company, had a family, and drank his coffee before work. One day, we found ourselves in the same gym at the exact same time. So I was doing deadlifts. It's that exercise where you lift the barbell off the floor, and it completely shuts off your brain. That day, I had to find out the maximum weight I could lift. So I started pulling, and at some point I realized that I had no strength left. But my barbell was still on the floor, it was still down. And suddenly I heard the voice of that regular guest. He was standing across from me, cheering me on and saying like, you can do it, come on. And you know what? I lifted that weight. So he helped me. For a long time, I thought it was just a coincidence. But the more I watched people in the gym, the more I realized this strange pattern. Those people who had overcome difficulties together grew closer, even if they hadn't exchanged their phone numbers. And that's when I thought, perhaps there is something more to it than that. And you know what? There is science behind it. So, adrenaline is released to help us survive. But there is another hormone, and it's called oxytocin. It's usually called the cuddle hormone, and it's believed to be produced when we are with loved ones. However, recent research made by Paul Zak suggests that oxytocin is released when we go through difficulties together. Because when we find ourselves in a stressful situation, our bodies activate an evolutionary program. So, evolutionary program, because our brain is an ancient mechanism. And it analyzes like, we have survived a danger, And this person didn't run away or abandon us, but he stood by us. So he can be trusted, and he is one of us. Do you see? That's called evolution. That's how friendship used to form between hunters, later among soldiers in the trenches, and today it's between different people in an ordinary gym. And I call it iron bonds. A connection that can be established over a business dinner, but which can be established only through the words, I can't, but I'm doing it. So nowadays, we live in a world that teaches us to fear one another, and I want to tell you one more story. There was a man in my gym, he was in his 50s. And he didn't speak to anyone. It seemed like he felt like an outsider. Also, there was a young man, approximately 20 years old. He was confident, with perfect physique, and in normal life, they would have never crossed paths. There was a gap in age, experience, physique. It seemed like a chasm between them. And one day, the lad was doing bench presses. He needed a spotter. And can you believe there was no one in the gym except for that very man who was 50 years old. So the lad approached this man. But the old man had never spotted anyone before. However, he stood up. Later, the lad noticed that the man had terrible technique. And instead of keeping quiet, he offered his help. For the next 6 months, they spotted each other, and I saw the light come into the man's eyes, how he went from just getting by to truly living. And this example isn't about age, nor is it about sport. It's about how shared vulnerability is a great equalizer. Because in the gym where we work out together, all social constructs disappear. All that remains is simply a person who needs you and whom you need. So today, we live in a world that teaches us to fear one another, that stranger is a threat, that we mustn't trust them and support them, not to look them in the eye. And gym is a strange, almost magical place in that wall. It's a place where we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, where you can fall down and someone will help you up. Because when it's hard for both of you, when you're both afraid of not getting stronger, you help each other. And next time, when you're in the gym, try one simple thing. Just take off your headphones for 5 minutes and look around. You're not looking at people with dumbbells, you're looking at people who are battling with themselves, just like you, who have doubts, just like you, and who are afraid of not getting stronger, just like you. And if you ask someone to spot you, probably it can trigger that very chemistry. You might get closer to someone you would never cross paths with. So I call it iron bonds, which need no words. Thank you very much.